Good morning, everyone. Good morning, UTLA family, parents, and community members. I want to start with a quote I saw on social media this week. It's something Mac elementary teacher Holly Jackson posted from a book she's reading. It says, "First instill joy, and then we can roll up our sleeves to get to work." I love that. First instill joy, and then we can roll up our sleeves and get to work. Words to take to heart. I know you all are working so hard to instill joy in our students. Even in these dire times, we must still find the joy of what we do for our babies. Today, we'll be talking about that joy with a spotlight on some innovative teaching going on in our LA schools. We'll also walk through our new agreement on voluntary in-person tutoring, assessments, and adult ed, and look at how we can take control of our future in this upcoming election. UTLA has reached a side letter agreement with LAUSD on safety and working conditions for members voluntarily providing in-person tutoring, assessments, and targeted adult education classes, all programs that require some level of in-person work. We are gratified that we could reach an agreement that supports our most vulnerable students and follows best practices to uphold the health and safety of our school communities. Participation in all three programs will be voluntary, with employees allowed to refuse participation or withdraw from participation without reprisal. The district must follow LA County Department of Health protocols, including daily symptom screening, physical distancing of at least 6 feet, 10 feet when practical, daily sanitation of workspaces, and PPE provided for teachers and students. Additionally, all participating members and students must be tested at a district testing facility or private facility and cleared before providing or receiving in-person services. We'll put the links to the agreements in the chat below. This week, we also began bargaining with the district on an eventual physical return to schools. In these talks, we will continue our laser-like focus on the health and safety and learning conditions needed for a safe return. Let's be crystal clear. This does not mean we are advocating for a return to physical campuses in the near future. There is no date to reopen. We are beginning discussions with the district so that when science tells us that it's safe to return, we will be ready to do so. We want to prevent in LA what happened in New York City. NYC schools opened last week, and many had to close because of a spike in cases there. We will not return until the necessary precautions and protocols are in place and until health metrics and public health officials tell us it is safe to do so. As we have these conversations with the district, we will be guided by member feedback, including responses to the UTLA survey on reopening schools. More than 12,000 UTLA members surveys have been completed so far. If you have not completed the survey, you have until 5 p.m. today to do so. Don't delay. The link will be in the chat below. Now, my favorite part of the morning, when we highlight some of the innovative and inspiring teaching and learning going on in our virtual world. At 93rd Street Elementary, every month, the students write, produce, and deliver scripts for a news program they call Channel 93. This month, they covered Black Lives Matter and a Si Se Puede segment on groundbreaking professional golfer Nancy Lopez. I challenge you not to have a huge smile on your face as you watch these student newscasters deliver their content and then throw the segment to each other with an energetic, and now back to the studio. Helping the students make this magic happen is 32-year veteran teacher Ellen Tellez and community schools coordinator Ingrid Vieva. 93rd Street is one of our new community schools. We won funding for community schools in our strike 2019, and it is powerful to see them in action, rising up to the dream of schools that are hubs of educational, cultural, health, and civic partnerships. At Coldwater Canyon, early childhood education teacher Eric Puel is trying new ways of reaching his young learners. His students require a great deal of motivation to engage during remote sessions, and many of them, some with a diagnosis of autism, respond well to visuals as well as music and movement. So Eric invested in a green screen, lights, and an editing program to see if he could build on his natural interest in making home videos to create something innovative for his students. The result is a series of vibrant, engaging videos that use song and animation to reinforce concepts taught in the early childhood program. His latest, Counting Sea Animals, introduces math skills by going on an underwater adventure. Really, you have to see these skills this teacher has with his videos. As a bonus, Eric uses the videos to introduce himself to new students. And these new little ones usually show up the first day with big smiles on their faces when they see their teacher, who they've already become familiar with. And while we celebrate Eric and the work he is doing with his early childhood special education kids, let's give some love to all of our wonderful early ed teachers. We see you, early childhood education, California State Preschool Program, and early transitional kindergarten educators. Y'all are rock stars, going above and beyond for our youngest learners in these unprecedented times. And we'll put the links to these amazing projects from 93rd Street and Coldwater Canyon Elementary in the chat below. I went on 2 virtual site visits yesterday, Pacific Boulevard and Barton Hill. Thank you, Mr. Flores, for inviting me. Shout out to Counselor Esther Evangelista, who is serving our families with mental health supports. Thank you for all you do. And big shout out to Pacific Boulevard Elementary. And then I headed over to Barton Hill with chapter chair Chiguza Nakazono. The faculty is strong and is coming up with ways to push against excessive observations by the administration. Stay strong, Barton Hill. You all are rock stars. I have to throw out a reminder for all of us to vote. I've been a kitchen table voter for a while now. I grab my ballot, I sit down at the kitchen table, and I take time to fill it out. If my son is around, I call him over and talk him through the process, because I believe you're never too young to be exposed to the importance of voting. This time, I will vote not only with my son next to me, but with my phone by my side and texting a few family and friends, because I have to remind them to vote yes on Proposition 15. And I love that vote by mail ballots come with the I voted sticker. I will put that sticker on with pride, even though I know I'm not leaving the comfort of my home. If you're looking for guidance on candidates and ballot measures, we'll put the link to our endorsements and to CTA and CFT endorsements in the chat below. So make your plan to vote. Pull that ballot out of the drawers where you've stashed it or out from under that pile of bills and magazines and fill it out and mail it today. This is the most tumultuous election in our country's history. We're dealing with a historic global health crisis and an increasingly unhinged president. This week, Trump repeatedly called Kamala Harris a monster. And he did this the morning after she made history as the first Black and Asian American woman to participate in a vice presidential debate. Trump's demeaning insult shouldn't be a surprise. He has long reserved some of his most dehumanizing insults for women, especially women of color. But surprise or not, it still triggers my outrage, and I bet it does for you too. In this out of control world, there is much that is within our control this election cycle. We can take control and help win Proposition 15 and $12 billion in funding for schools and vital services. $12 billion every year. This will put our schools and communities on a path to recovery, and it will feel so righteous, so inspiring in this time when poor families of color are bearing the disproportionate impact of the virus, for corporations to finally pay their fair share. We can take control and win the school board majority. The school board will be making critical decisions in the coming months about the safe reopening of schools and how to tackle the looming budget deficit. We need Scott Schmerlson on the board. He's a lifelong educator, former teacher, and former principal. His experienced hand is even more valuable now that we're in crisis mode. And we need Patricia Castellanos on the board. Her experience as a community activist and LAUSD parent will make her a powerful voice on the board. And by electing Scott and Patty, we stop the corporate forces from taking over the board and exploiting the economic crisis to destabilize our schools by going after our jobs, our healthcare, and our schools. If we don't control our future will control us. So how do we take control? Yes, by voting, but also by campaigning, by joining the daily virtual UTLA phone banks and calling voters. The most recent polling shows that Proposition 15 and our Board of Education candidates have a slight edge, especially when people hear our message first, before the corporate lies. But our corporate opponents are doubling down, running ads during prime time, and so far spending $22 million to defeat Proposition 15 and nearly $10 million to defeat Scott and Patty. You may hear misinformation about Proposition 15, that it will raise taxes on average homeowners. This is simply inaccurate. It's the opposition fueled by corporations who have been benefiting from people like you and me paying our fair share while they dodge taxes and find loopholes. The opposition is big money. Big money was given to the NAACP's Alice Huffman's political firm to the tune of $1.5 million to be exact. And why? She was courted by big money to oppose Proposition 15, to confuse voters when they cast their ballots. Her opposition to Proposition 15 is not based on ideals. It's based on backdoor deals. And it is a conflict of interest. And she should be ashamed. We can't beat corporations with money, but we can beat them with conversations. If voters hear from educators, nurses, and counselors, they trust about what's at stake. Sign up now to Phone Bank for as little as 2 hours a session at www.lateacherschoice.org. When we phone, we win. When we phone, we take control of our future. The link will be in the chat below. And in closing, I want to recognize National Coming Out Day this Sunday, October 11th. Everyone in the LGBTQIA community has a different experience when it comes to the coming out process. National Coming Out Day is a day to honor that journey, no matter where someone is on the path to sharing their gender identity and sexual orientation. Until next time, be well, get some rest, and stay UTLA strong, because together we rise.